Hey guys, it's Sammy. Welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be talking about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I know, I'm super excited. I started reading Harry Potter March 18th of 2018. I started reading it because I knew that I was going to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Universal Studios in Orlando. I did a little travel vlog, I'll link it up above for you guys. So that's the reason I started reading it, but for years I've been planning on reading Harry Potter, and I was nervous about it because it has, as you know, so much hype. And I was really nervous that I was going to hate it. And spoiler alert, I loved it. And obviously I'm going to get into that as the video progresses. But I was really nervous, first of all, because so many people read this when they were really young. So I thought maybe that this book would come off as kind of childish. But it came off childish in the ways that are really, really fun to read. It kind of is nostalgic in a way. It reads as sort of introspective into a child's life. I just thought it was so refreshing, even though I am 18 years old and I'm reading a book from technically the perspective of an 11-year-old. If you don't know what Harry Potter is about, it's about this boy, Harry Potter, whose parents were killed when he was very young, and after this happened, he was sent to live with his aunt and uncle, who are muggles, who are just humans. They have no magic powers. And on his 11th birthday, he gets this letter, and it's basically telling him that he's a wizard and he's to go off to this magical wizarding school called Hogwarts. And this whole series basically just follows all the adventures that him and his two friends, Ron and Hermione, go on throughout these books, with so many amazing side characters, so many like crazy things that happen. I'm sure I've only read the first two books as of right now, but so many amazing things. And I think like the main antagonist this whole series is Lord Voldemort. I said his name, but he who should not be named, you know, the very classic. So the first book centers around Harry getting this letter and finding out all of these things about magic, and then him going off to Hogwarts. And this whole thing is going on right now with him thinking that some of the professors are out to get him, and there's kind of this mystery of this Sorcerer's Stone. So that's really all I can really say. That's really spoiler free, and even the spoilery section is, I mean, this book was pretty short, so there's not super a lot to talk about, so this video is probably going to be pretty short, but I really just wanted to make individual videos for each of the books. First of all, because a lot of people on BookTube read this book when they were a lot younger, so they don't really talk about it much on their channel except for like in book tags and stuff like that. So I feel like there's not really a lot of videos out there that talk about each book individually. But yeah, I'm basically just gonna be talking about all of my spoiler feels on Harry Potter. From now on, it's gonna be spoiler filled. So to all of you who haven't read Harry Potter, don't be like me and wait forever to read it, because I promise you, even if you don't enjoy it as much as I did, it's still a really nice read. And I feel like if you just read the first book, you don't have to live with knowing that it could have been your new favorite. I promise it'll be worth it. Now let's get into spoilers. So I'm kind of just basing this off of memory and also the movie that I watched the other day, because the movies, let me just say, the movies and the books, so similar, like almost identical. Like, I'm really impressed. First, I mentioned this in my March wrap up, I will link that up above, where I kind of talked briefly about the first two books of Harry Potter. The thing that bothers me the most about these books so far, like I said, only read the first two, is how lightly they take the Dursleys. And by that I mean J.K. Rowling kind of writes them in a way that is meant to be kind of quirky and crazy, and while they are those things, they are also very much abusive. And it's kind of sickening because you read it in a way that is kind of funny. Like in the first book, Harry sends a snake after Dudley. It's like kind of funny, and like a lot of the things that Harry does to the Dursleys is kind of funny. But in the same aspect, the things that the Dursleys does to Harry is not funny. First of all, in the first book, he lives under the stairs, which I don't find funny. And he also is often punished with, once he accidentally does magic, with no food. I don't find that funny. That's something that like abusers use to manipulate children. Like, I don't find that funny. And it's kind of just taken very, very lightly. Even though like Dumbledore and Hagrid and all of these people know what is going on at the Dursleys' house, Harry still is sent back there for summer break. That makes me so irritated, because you know Dumbledore and Hagrid were keeping tabs on Harry for the first 11 years of his life. He was famous, and nobody thought that he shouldn't be living with abusive people. That's just really irritating to me. That's like the most irritating thing that I've come across so far. Yeah, that's like my biggest complaint, is like it seems kind of ridiculous that Dumbledore and Hagrid and everybody, Professor McGonagall, didn't do anything about this, because they say that living with the Muggles was what was best for him, whatever. So irritating, because he was treated like trash, and the first 11 years of his life were kind of trash, and I feel like they could have been a lot better. I don't know, maybe this will be fully developed in later books, but right now, very irritating. Very, very irritating. So that's like my biggest complaint. There's not very many other complaints about this, so without that, let's just skip on. Some interesting things. Basically, the beginning, there was like a good decent amount of book that was just him like trying to get to Hogwarts and the Dursleys like not letting him go. But once he got to Hogwarts, I was really surprised to see that Harry, Ron, and Hermione were not friends right from the beginning, and that Ron and Harry actually found Hermione really annoying. I'd always seen videos of them like sitting together on the train when they're first going there, so I thought that meant they like struck it off right from the bat, but they didn't, which was really interesting. I liked how they became friends. I liked how it seemed really realistic that Ron had like made fun of Hermione and she was like really hurt by that and she was crying, and then the ogre, no, what was it, troll, came and they like saved her from the troll. Really interesting. I really liked how that like all came to be. I thought it was like really realistic, well, you know, minus the troll part, like kids like making fun of each other, not really like knowing the consequences, and then it kind of being resolved. I found that really cute. I really liked that. I thought that was a really nice aspect of the book. There wasn't very many other character dynamics other than Harry and Draco, like at least between like the younger kids. Harry and Draco, I find it very fun. I don't really have any like definite like opinions on Draco. I think he's kind of an interesting character, so I do enjoy reading about him. I do find him like rather rude, but I'm thinking that he's kind of going to get a redemption arc, mainly because his dad is horrid, and I think that's kind of like gonna play on later. For more characters, Professor McGonagall, she's cool. She seems like kind of fine. Like there's nothing really distinctive about her. I love Neville. I think Neville is so like precious, and I think that's just like a really nice dynamic. He has like a really nice dynamic. Dumbledore, I really enjoy, other than what I mentioned in the first. Love Hagrid. Love Hagrid. He's kind of irritating. The dragon thing was like kind of irritating to read, because I was like, why? But really love him as a character. I think he like adds something really fun to the book as well. And then Snape. I have kind of been spoiled for some things. I don't obviously know everything about Snape and kind of the future, but I do know a little bit. So it kind of does like skew my perception on him a little bit. Found him very interesting in this book, obviously. I don't understand why he's so aggressive. I find him an interesting character. I think he's really shitty, at least in this first book. Towards Harry, I think it's really unnecessary, quite frankly, and I think it kind of comes off as him being a child, but he's an interesting character and I enjoy reading him from him, just like Draco. Let me think. So those are really like the main people that I can think of. Obviously Fred and George, really fun, love them. Ginny, I did not know that she was like obsessed with Harry. I think that's really all for like the characters in like the first book, at least. So now kind of moving into the plot, it was pretty evident, I think, at least from the beginning about that it was kind of weird that Hagrid was going into the Gringotts bank to get that like thing, and it was kind of obvious that that thing was the Sorcerer's Stone, but I don't think it was meant to be not obvious. But I loved how surprised I was at the end when it wasn't Snape who had taken it and was trying to use it, and it was the other guy who like I didn't even like question, like I didn't even think about it. So that was super great. Like, I was super glad that it wasn't like that straightforward and that obvious. Professor Quirrell, he was kind of like whatever. And then obviously there's Voldemort. And I don't know like how exactly I'm supposed to feel about him. Like, obviously he's horrid and he's terrible and he killed Harry's parents and like that's horrible. I felt, oh my god, it was so sad. The movie, at least, I mean, in the book it's obviously sad that Harry's parents had died, but like seeing like in the mirror and seeing his parents and like him standing with his parents, so sad, so absolutely heartbreaking. Like that actually physically pained me to look at. Like, it really hurt. So like finding out that like Quirrell was the one who was like kind of like possessed by Voldemort basically, and was the one who was like dealing with that, I found that very interesting. I also thought it was really interesting like with the dark forest and the scene where him, Ron, and Draco go into the forest with Hagrid and the dog thing. I think it's just a dog, I forget, Fang. And they go into the woods, and the unicorn and the centaur, I found it was really interesting that like even though this kind of seems like a sort of modern like magic, it's not like it's literally just them casting spells, that it's still a magical world and they're still magical creatures. So I thought that was really fun. I wasn't really aware that there was like a bunch of different magical elements and stuff like that. What else? I feel like, I mean, like, this was obviously very much of a starter book. I'm not sure what else there really is to talk about. Overall, I would say that I love this book. I recommend it to everyone. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment down below your thoughts on Harry Potter. I would love to talk about it more with you guys, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!